Jack Pitt-Brooke is the Spurs correspondent of The Athletic. He's also my partner in crime on the Best Spurs podcast out there. And he reports every day and in great detail on Spurs. Welcome to talkSPORT, Jack. How are you?
I'm very well, Danny. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, really? I can't think of anyone else I would want, actually. So what's happened in the last couple of hours, and were you seeing it coming? And we'll talk about how we got where we are in a minute.
I wasn't seeing this specific timing coming. I think Spurs have caught everyone off guard, frankly, by putting it out Sunday after 10 p.m. Clearly, the clock was ticking, and Tottenham had to make a decision really by Tuesday, which is when the international players start coming back for training and they really start preparing seriously for the Everton game. So they had to do it at some point in the next few days, but I'd be lying if I said I was expecting it to come at 10:19 this evening.
No.
Jack, is the bit of detail here the fact that Stellini is staying for the rest of the season? Because some Tottenham fans quite surprised by that. Others, actually maybe some of the same ones, quite pleased after the job he did in Antonio Conte's absence. How do you read this?
Well, it's very unusual, isn't it? Off the top of my head, I can't think of any other examples of a manager leaving and his two assistants stay in place. I mean, I think the presumption was that Ryan Mason would stay on, which of course is what he did after Mourinho was sacked in 2021. But not many people expected Stellini to stay on as well. I think in part it reflects the fact that they don't want a complete repeat of 2021, where Ryan Mason had the last few games. Equally, I think it's also just an acknowledgement of what a good job Stellini and Mason did. I mean, frankly, that was Spurs' best run of the season when Conte was recuperating from surgery at home in Italy, and Stellini and Mason helped them beat Manchester City and Chelsea. But you're right, it is very odd. It's not something that would normally happen.
And Jack, just for the enjoyment of our listeners, of course, you were, I think, the nearest journalist to Antonio when he started doing the rant that we just played part of. Just remind people, I mean, you go to press conferences all the time. Whenever I text you, you're at a press conference. Just remind people of how unusual an event that was. Because, let's be honest, you were witnessing, within spittle hitting you distance, a person torching every aspect of his employer.
Yeah, it's not just that I've never been at a press conference like this. I'm not really aware of another press conference like this ever happening. I can't think of another example of a manager detonating all his relationships at a club, his relationship with the dressing room, his relationship with the senior people at the club, his relationship with the fan base, all in one 10-minute press conference. 99% of these press conferences are so banal and nothing ever comes out of them, and this was utterly sensational. I still wonder whether he knew this would happen at the time. Was this a kind of resignation message, or did he know that he was making his position at the club untenable? Because clearly that's what's happened. I mean, as soon as he walked out of that room, I knew that it wouldn't be possible for him to stay in the job. But yeah, never seen or heard of anything quite like
Amazing.
it.
So, in your estimation, Jack, where did Tottenham stand in terms of a replacement? I mean, like, there are some people who said they should. Yeah, there we go. There's some people who said they should move quickly and try everything they can to get Nagelsmann. I would lean in that direction personally. Is it possible to make an appointment of that sort of magnitude before they know whether they're in the Champions League or not next season? How do you suggest they would best go about it?
Well, I think it's much harder to get someone of that calibre without knowing what European competition you're going to be in next season. I mean, my reading of the situation is that if they had been able to line up a permanent replacement now, then they would have done so. They would have liked to unveil a permanent replacement this week, I think, rather than having to fall back on the rarely seen joint interim model. But I think it's going to be really interesting to see what sort of manager they're able to land. Will it be, Luis Enrique is someone who Paratici is a big fan of. Pochettino is obviously the fans' favourite choice. My personal preference would be for someone a bit fresher, like Ruben Amorim, I think would be great. Roberto De Zerbi would be great. But frankly, we're all in the dark. Everyone is in the dark about what next season's going to look like at Tottenham Hotspur at the moment.
Andy, let me ask you, since I've got both your planet-sized brains at my disposal, if I put you up against a wall, who would you choose to be the next Spurs manager? Bearing in mind that my criteria are they must play attacking football and they must want to be at Spurs.
I would choose Nagelsmann if he would come. I'm not convinced that is necessarily the case, although I think the fit is fantastic. As you know, for a while I've been talking up Sergio Conceição, who I think his future is more likely in Italy. I feel is blowing up with Porto. He threatened to leave, as we might talk about later in the show, in this international window, and he would be more than prepared to argue with Daniel Levy about various budgets. But he is someone who's got a track record of building aggressive front foot teams who play attacking football and stand up for themselves on very small budgets. If we go back to the beginning of when he received the Porto job, remember that Marco Silva turned it down because he was told they were going to have to win the title back after 4 fallow years and sell 100 million euros worth of players, and Silva said no thank you very much to that. Amorim stepped up. He's got them in 3 Champions League quarterfinals and he won 3 out of 4 titles. I mean, that to me is proper coaching and proper management.
Jack, finally, apart from doing a brilliant podcast with me tomorrow, you're supposed to be doing England at the moment because Spurs are off duty. What does tomorrow hold for you? Who can you get hold of to try and make sense of this timing and this strange decision to leave Stellini in charge?
I think tomorrow is just going to be yet another day of trying to figure out what on earth is happening at Tottenham Hotspur, which is frankly taken up quite a lot of our combined energy, you and me, Danny, over the last few months. But yeah, I mean, the good thing is at least they've got some clarity now. It's been an incredibly strange week. Everybody kind of sensed after Southampton this was going to come. I think nobody really thought it would take 8.5 days to get there. But the fact is, they've still got 10 Premier League games left. They can still come fourth. They've got Goodison Park away in 8 days' time. And I think at least now the fans and the players have got some idea what the final section of the season is going to look like.
Well, I know that you will enhance that knowledge, the little knowledge we currently have during the next couple of days. Jack, thanks very much for joining us here on talkSPORT. Jack Pitt-Brook there from The Athletic.